That night, after Jason was done giving the whole situation a deep thought, the next day, Jason planned to meet up with Amanda. He was curious about so many things. How Amanda never knew he was the master's child and so many others. So he told himself that when Amanda was done working for the day, he was going to meet Amanda. So that hot afternoon, while Amanda was done working, while she was heading back home, she met Jason at the garden and they got talking. Jason quickly asked her, "Amanda, my love, I just have a few questions to ask you. First, how come you didn't get the scholarship from the school? I know you were a very brilliant child, so what happened?" Amanda shared her pain with Jason, how she felt terribly ill towards the exam and couldn't function properly. So she came second. She was awarded money, but it wasn't quite enough to carry her through her university section. And that's why she decided to start working for Madam Carlo. Jason really felt bad for her, as Amanda never told him any of this all along while they were communicating. She always said everything was okay, and to him, he felt everything was fine. And even when Amanda made mention of working in the boss's house, he felt Amanda was assisting her mom. Then Jason quickly went to the next question. "Amanda, you've been cleaning my parents' house for when? For the last how many years? A year, 6 months, right? So how come you never knew I was Mrs. Carlo's child? How come you did not see any picture of me anywhere lying around or something? Yes, I know my mom had removed all the pictures from the living room, but weren't you curious of who their kids were? How can you clean someone's house and you know they have kids and you didn't even bother knowing who these kids were?" Amanda looked at Jason and said, "Your mom has strict rules. Knowing who her kids were weren't that important to me, as I felt if she wanted people to know who her kids were, she would have left pictures of them in the living room. That's what regular Nigerians do. Put the pictures of their wedding and their kids in the living room. So since your mom decided to clear everywhere, I wasn't in any place to go look for them. I just felt my work was more important than anything. And that's why I wasn't bothered. I'm really sorry. I hope you don't feel bad about everything." Jason looked at her and said, "Okay, no problem. What about your mom, Mrs. Elle? She had seen me before in this house. Or is she going to deny not seeing me? So didn't she tell you who I was?" Amanda looked at Jason and said, "My mom had never told me anything about you. If she had, then I would have worked towards avoiding you." Jason looked at her and said, "Why? Why avoid me?" Amanda looked at him and said, "Jason, we are 2 worlds apart. My world is quite different from your world. The world where you work in is a world where money flows in and out. You do things at your own convenience. Have you ever entered the public transport before? If not that you went to UK. Have you ever felt what it is not to eat in a whole day and eat just one meal because you didn't have money to? Have you ever felt the pain of running to a bus station only for you to miss your bus? Jason, your world is quite different from mine. If I had known from the very beginning, I would have kept my distance. I would have made sure I had no feelings for you." Jason looked at her and said, "You see, now you have feelings for me and I have feelings for you, and there's nothing we can do about it. What we have to do now is to fight for our love. Fight for what we want. You don't have to make my parents determine who I get married to. I'm not trying to ask you to go fight my mom. I will do that myself. But what I want from you is that you don't give up on me along the way. I don't want a situation whereby threats will come from left, right, and center, and all of a sudden you give up on me. Because the moment you give up on me, the zeal for fighting won't be there. The zeal for holding on to you won't be there." Amanda looked at Jason and said, "I promise. I won't give up on you at any point. I will hold you tight and I'll patiently wait for when your mom accepts us." Jason looked at her and said, "I've not really told my mom yet, but I'm going to tell her. I'm going to tell her this week. I can't get married to Cassie. I don't like her. I don't know anything about her. And I'm not even willing to open my heart to, because someone else is already occupying my heart." Amanda looked at Jason tightly and hugged him. And she told him, "Thank you very much. Thank you for always having my back. Thank you for always being there when I needed someone to talk to." Jason told her, "Same here. You've been more than a friend to me. I've loved you from the very moment I saw you in the garden. Even when I made my mom send you to our school, Amanda was shocked. What did you just say? Were you the reason I went to your school? And I thought your mom was being generous. Jason smiled and said, I wanted you closer. I wanted to see you every day. So I had my mom do that. Amanda laughed seriously. Wow. And I actually thought your feelings started when you went to UK, because I felt like what we had here in Nigeria was more like friendship, something. Jason looked at her and said, that's not true. I've loved you from the very first moment I laid my eyes on you. Amanda was excited, but at the same time, she knew deep down that Miss Kalu wasn't going to accept it. She knew that holding on to Jason meant a lot. She might lose her job and as well as her mom, but she was ready to fight for love. She was ready to give it a try. This had to do with her and nobody else. So a few days down the line, Jason walked up to his parents who were sitting in the living room and told them about his feelings for Amanda. When he was done talking, his mother looked at him straight and said, Jason, I knew from the very moment you asked me to put her in your school something was fishy. And I asked you back then, but you told me nothing was wrong. So what is it, Jason? What? Jason looked at his mom and asked her, Mom, do you owe Cassie and her parents anything? Mrs. Kalu said, no, I don't. So I don't get why you asking such a question. Then Jason quickly asked her, so why must I get married to Cassie? Is it to maintain the family image? Do you think Amanda isn't good enough to maintain the family image? Mom, I don't expect this from you. Knowing fully well how you strive and prayed for me, I thought you were a human. I thought you were going to consider everybody as a human being. Mrs. Kalu stood up out of anger and said, don't get me talking. Jason, how dare you talk to your mom that way? Do you know I've planned your life from the moment I gave birth to you? Do you know I have you at heart? What's the maid going to do for you virtually if something happens to you? What? Does she have any connection? How is she going to help you if something happens to your business? Jason, think with your brain and not your heart. When it comes to family, when it comes to picking a partner, you don't just use only your heart. You use your brain too. You need a strong hand. You need a strong foundation. And that's why I want you to get married to Cassie. I didn't say that she's a bad person. It's just that she doesn't fit. She doesn't fit in this family. She doesn't fit here. You need someone that you can fall back to if something happens to you. Jason looked at his mom closely and said, Mom, is that why you got married to Dad? Was that the reason you both got married? Mrs. Kalu was out of words. Knowing fully well she had gotten married to her husband because she loved him. But at this point, she didn't want Jason to go get married to Amanda. And she knew that Amanda wasn't the right fit for him. Cassie was much better. Cassie was also an engineer. The same field. They could always assist themselves. And why is Jason finding it difficult to understand? Jason looked at his mother again and said, Mom, please and please, I really love Amanda. And I really hope you put my thoughts, my feelings into consideration. You've told me right from the one that you've always loved me and you're always going to do what I want. I'm not even asking you to kill someone. I'm just telling you to put my own feelings into consideration. Even if I get married to Cassie, she's going to suffer. I don't even have any space in my heart to give to Cassie. There is no other space for Cassie to occupy. Amanda has everything, every fiber in me. Mrs. Kalu looked at her son and said, Maid, this is just for the time being. When you get talking with Cassie, she's going to occupy your heart. Occupying someone's heart isn't that difficult, so please wake up from your slumber. Jason turned and looked at his father and said, Dad, why aren't you saying anything? Why are you making it look like Mom is in charge here? Mr. Kalu looked at Jason and said, My son, I know you're not going to understand the decision I and your mom have made, but one thing we want you to know is that we have your best interest at heart. We don't want you to fall back and never stand. We need a situation whereby if something happens, you have someone that could push you up. And that's it. It's nothing serious. So please and please respect our decision. Jason looked at both of them and said, I won't. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow your plan for me become my dream. I have a dream. I have mapped out my own life. So why should I walk in your own picture? I have my own picture to work with. Please and please, I want you both to stop this whole melodrama with Cassie. I'm not going to get married to her at
all. Mrs. Carlo stood up and told her son, then you leave me no choice. If you don't, not just will I send Amanda and her mother packing, I'll make sure they rot in jail. Trust me on that. Everything now lies on your shoulder, my dear son. Either you get married to Cassie, or you see your beloved girlfriend sent out of the house, and it's so hard to accuse her for something, Play smart. Don't make me angry in any way. Be the very good boy you've always been. Jason looked at his mother. He couldn't just believe. When did his mother become so evil? When did she get to this point whereby nothing could get to her? Rather than considering his feelings, she had already plotted atrocities in her head against Amanda and her mom. At that point, Jason knew choosing Amanda was going to endanger her life. So he decided to go along with his mother's plan. Deep down, he needed a plan B out of this whole situation his mom had placed in front of him. But he needed to make his mom feel at ease so she doesn't go hurting Amanda in any way. So he told his mother, no problem. I'm sorry for disrespecting you. I promise from this day henceforth, I'm going to follow that which you want. But please and please, leave Amanda out of this. If you're to blame, I'm the one. I was the first person that went to her, not she. So please, leave her out of this. That moment, Mrs. Kando smiled and said, I always know that you're going to do the right thing. That's my boy. I'm glad you've come to your senses. She stood up and left immediately. On the other part, when Amanda got back home, she quickly asked her mom, Mom, did you know that Jason was that rich? Did you know that Jason was the child of who we were working for? Mrs. Ethel said, yes, I did, but I never knew you loved him. Neither did I know he loved you. I thought you both were friends, and that's why I never said anything, hoping that when you grow up, you people will get to talk about it. I wasn't in any way supposed to come and tell you about it. He was your friend. He is the person that should tell you who he was. So don't come pushing blame on me. I might feel bad for not telling it to you that Jason was the son of our boss, but at the same time, I feel like Jason should be the one saying it and not me. Amanda tried to understand what her mom was saying, knowing fully well that Jason was responsible for everything. If Jason had told her from the onset, the moment he knew Mrs. Ethel had seen him, or probably even if her mom had told her, if someone had said something, she would have known what to do. Now she was in a tight corner where she couldn't even understand what to do. Was she to follow her heart and fall in love more with Jason? Or was she to walk away, knowing fully well that Mrs. Kalu wasn't going to accept her feelings for her son? So she told herself to take it one step at a time. Since Jason had promised to talk to his parents, she wasn't going to give up yet. She was going to gradually know what he and his parents had decided. As the days went by, Jason and Amanda kept on meeting in their hidden corner. Jason kept on confessing his love and feelings for Amanda, gifting her various gifts. Amanda was in the moon. She was excited. She felt that Mrs. Khan was gradually accepting her, as Jason was always visiting her in the garden. And she knew that everybody could see. But she never knew that Jason was gradually bidding her a farewell. As few days down the line, Jason told her that he and his mom has finally decided to get married to Cass. Amanda was heartbroken. She couldn't believe what was coming out of Jason's mouth. What did you just say, Jason? And Jason repeated himself. I have decided to get married to Cass. I have my reasons for that. And I really hope you understand. Amanda began to cry. How could Jason do this to her? What was the meaning of this? I don't get. 1 minute love and 1 minute no love? What does he mean? Does he think he has the right to switch on and off my feelings? Amanda told him, I don't blame you. I really don't. She stood up and left angrily. But as the days went by, Amanda avoided everything that had to do with Jason, as she had confirmed that Jason was truly getting married to Cassie. Jason and his family had gone to visit Cassie for proper introduction and marriage plans. The marriage plan was going on well, Jason giving his appropriate cooperation. His mom was glad in her heart that her son had come to realize her plans for him. Jason followed them to the tailor shop to pick up his suit. Everything was going as planned. And on the wedding day, while everyone was preparing to go to church, Jason followed them. Everyone was happy. The marriage of two dignitaries were coming to reality. But when they got to church, Jason was nowhere to be found. Everyone was shocked. Mrs. Kalu felt embarrassed. Not just embarrassed. She was afraid. Had something happened to her son? What was happening? After standing outside the church for an hour 30 minutes, the driver who was driving Jason to the church had arrived and told her that Jason had fled to the States. And he had dropped a note for her. On the note, it was written, "Dear Mom, I'm very sorry for breaking your heart. I'm deeply sorry for everything, for all the embarrassments you might feel today. But this embarrassment is just a short time. It has nothing compared to my feelings for Amanda. If I get married to Cassie, I will end up hating myself for life. So please and please, I really hope you understand." Mrs. Carlo squeezed the paper on her hands angrily as she beat her mouth. Oh, how come she didn't suspect that her son was playing her all along? How come? And deep down, she felt that it was Amanda and her mom that had lured her son to travel out so that Amanda could go meet Jason much later. The moment she got home that day, after being embarrassed in the church, she poured her annoyance on Ethel and Amanda. She insulted Ethel and told Ethel how ungrateful she was and how she was trying to use her daughter to get into her family. She told Ethel, "You are nothing but a church rat. The poor will always be a poor person. How dare you? How dare you think this your filthy daughter could stand a chance of being my daughter-in-law? You must be sick in your brain. She is the reason why Jason did not get married to Cassie. She's the reason why I am being disgraced today. And I will make sure I disgrace you both. I will make sure I drag your name to the mud." Ethel and Amanda, you should know me by now. Nothing come out from my mouth and it's joke. I will make sure you pay dearly for this embarrassment that you have cost me today. Love rubbish. What do you think love is? Do you even know what love is? How dare you even say you love my son? That evening, Mrs. Kalu ordered some security men to drag Mrs. Ethel and Amanda out of her house. Not just dragging them out of her house. She instructed them to beat them mercilessly for causing her disgrace today. And while they were on it, it was raining heavily. Mrs. Ethel and Amanda were beaten mercilessly under the rain. The next morning, a good Samaritan had helped to carry them to the hospital. When Amanda got herself, she vowed in her heart never to return back to the Carlos family. And she was promising not to have anything to do with Jason. As Jason had betrayed her, Jason had not even told her that he was leaving that day. Jason did not say anything. Even the morning of the wedding, when she had entered the room to bid him farewell and wish him well on his marriage, all Jason did was to stare at the mirror and shed tears, crocodile tears, she thought to herself, because he knew what he wanted to do and did not even give anybody heads up. He fled, and now she and her mom are being humiliated and accused for his sins. Amanda vowed in her heart that she was going to make them pay dearly for everything they had done to she and her mom, because they were innocent. Amanda gradually found another work as a waitress in a restaurant. She used this job to support herself while in school. And when she was done from the university, with the help of God and her knowledge, she got a role in the best private hospital there in Abuja. Amanda was glad. She did her internship, her residency, and everything. And Amanda grew to become the best surgeon in town. Amanda was a name spoken by everyone. It felt like she had magical hands, as any surgery she carried out had 100% success. Everyone wanted Amanda to carry out their surgery. She was always fully booked every time. One fateful day, she had seen a lady that looked like Mrs. Carlo in the hospital. She was seriously down, but Amanda paid little or no attention to her. She told herself, even if it were Mrs. Carlo, she wasn't like her mom who had refused to curse her. She wasn't going to lay a single finger on her. She told herself that even if it were Mrs. Carlo, she deserved whatever she was going through. But to her greatest surprise, the moment she got to her office, Mr. Kalu was sitting there waiting. Mr. Kalu was there pleading with Amanda to please help save his wife's life, as he has heard that Amanda was the best surgeon in town. And Mrs. Kalu had to carry out a brain surgery in order to remove the tumor in her brain. If the surgery wasn't successful, she was going to die. Hearing that Amanda had done hundreds of surgery, he needed Amanda to carry out the surgery. Amanda looked at Mr. Kallo and asked him, why? Why should I help save your wife? When she did what she did to I and my mom, did you help save us? What did you do? Stand sipping a glass of red wine and not saying a word? And now you want me to help save her? I'm not. I feel like she's paying for her sins, so it has nothing to do with me. Mr. Cannon knelt down there and then and pleaded with Amanda. Please, please, Amanda, help save my dying wife. I know we've caused you and your mom pain, but please, do not pay evil with evil. You might feel no remorse now, but much later, you might feel bad if she eventually gets to die. Is it not better she live to pay her sins rather than dying and not even knowing that she was a sinner? Save her life and let her live to pay for her sins herself. Amanda looked at Mr. Keller and said, okay, I'll do it. I'll carry out the surgery, and when I'm done, I'll make sure she pays for her sins myself. I will start it right here in this clinic. Mr. Keller didn't understand what Amanda was trying to say, but he knew deep down that Amanda was really upset for what had happened. And he prayed genuinely that Amanda carried out the surgery. And that fateful morning, as early as 4:30 a.m., Mrs. Kalu was booked for her prayer surgery. Amanda carried out the surgery, which turned out to be a 100% success as usual. Amanda left the hospital immediately after the surgery. She couldn't believe that she did the surgery, as she had serious hatred for Mrs. Kalu. But deep down, she was glad that she was able to save Jason's mother. As even after Mrs. Kalu had threw them out of the house, Jason tried to keep in touch with her, though she avoided his calls. But Jason kept on calling to check up on her and sending numerous messages. So the feeling was always there. She knew she still loved Jason deep down. And that was the only reason she agreed to lay her hands on Mrs. Kalu. And after the surgery was done, Mrs. Kalu was taken to her room to recover fully. Mrs. Kalu gradually recovered with the help of Amanda and Mr. Kalu. And few days to when Mrs. Kalu was to be discharged, Jason flew into Nigeria and went straight to the hospital to visit his mother. On getting to the clinic, while he was asking his dad about the surgery, his dad shared the good news that Amanda was the one who carried out the surgery and his mom was recovering perfectly well. Jason was excited. Amanda never gave up on herself, even after she was maltreated by Mrs. Kalu. She strived and became the best surgeon in town. And not just, she even carried out a surgery on his mom, who had even maltreated her. Jason decided to go look for Amanda wherever she was. And the moment he got to her office, Jason knelt down and pleaded with Amanda. I'm sorry, my love. I'm very, very sorry. I'm sorry that I couldn't express my pain to you on the wedding morning. My tears meant a lot of words, but I know you couldn't read through it. I'm deeply sorry for betraying you then and now. I'm very, very sorry. Amanda was moved by Jason's tears. She had never seen Jason cry, except the wedding morning. Though she knew he was crying, but she couldn't really read meaning to it. Amanda walked up towards Jason and hugged him tightly and told him, I saved her just because of you, because I knew deep down I still loved you. On hearing this, Jason knew that Amanda was in no relationship, and he quickly asked her, can we grab a cup of coffee? To which Amanda accepted. And while they grabbed coffee, Jason asked her how everything was and also thanked her for going on with the surgery. Amanda said, no problem. Like I said, I did it because of you, so you don't have to thank me numerous times. Jason then held her hand closely and asked her, Amanda, please, I would like you to be my woman. Please and please. This time around, I'm not going to flee. Even if my parents accept or not, I am going to get married to you. Please and please. I have waited and prayed and hoped that one day we were going to go back together. And that's why I kept on sending you messages. That's why I kept on calling you. And that's why I kept on emailing you, so that you don't forget me at any point. Amanda looked at him and said, I never forgot you. I have never, and I will never. Even if I had not responded to them, I get to listen to all your voice notes every day. I love you, Jason. I really do. But you know your parents don't want me, and I don't want to force it. I want a love that is free, a love that can be felt around. I don't want a relationship that is tied under deceit or anything. I don't want us to get married and flee to UK. I want your parents to wholly accept me as their daughter-in-law. And that is the only time I'll be able to get married to you. Jason smiled and said, that's not an issue. I'll wait till then. Even if we are 50 years, Amanda, I will wait till then. Amanda looked at him and smiled. And while they returned back to the ward, Amanda decided to check up on Mrs. Kalu, as she was to be discharged 2 days from them. On getting to the room, Mrs. Kalu was awake. Amanda wanted to leave, as she wasn't in the right state of mind to talk to Mrs. Kalu. But Mrs. Kalu pleaded with her to stay and said, Amanda, please stay back. Amanda stood at the door and greeted her. Good afternoon, ma. How are you feeling today? How is your health? Mrs. Kalu turned to her greatly and said, Amanda, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry for the harsh way I treated you and your mom. If only I knew that someday my life would be at your hands. If only I knew that one day I'll be at your own mercy. I thought I had it all. I thought I knew it all. But fate has proven that I don't. Your love and Jason's love was always meant to be. I was just being stingy, greedy. I don't even know what to say. But today, Amanda, I give you my blessings. You're permitted to get married to Jason. Not because you saved my life, but the act of you saving my life have taught me that everybody is important. You didn't hold grudges. You didn't hold back, but you still did the surgery. Thank you very much. On hearing this, Amanda was a bit excited, but she felt sad at the same time. This wasn't the kind of welcoming she wanted from her husband's family. She wanted a natural welcoming, something that felt natural and true, and not bound under help. But she told herself, it's one step at a time. We'll get to figure it out. Amanda left the room, and when Jason entered, they shared the good news with Jason and told Jason that he was free to get married to Amanda. Though the mom still tried to explain that not because Amanda had saved her life, but because Amanda had proven that she was a better person compared to her. As after the ill treatment she had given to Amanda, Amanda still saved her life, and Amanda kept on checking up on her every single day. Amanda had proven that love exists, and such love should be given to her. Jason was excited on hearing this. He was glad, but he knew that he wasn't ready to force Amanda into being so excited. So he took it one step at a time with Amanda. He felt like he needed to remind her of who they truly were. So after Mrs. Kalu was discharged, Jason gradually started going to the hospital. But this time around, he made sure to see her at the garden side of the hospital. It wasn't a big garden like that in his house. It was just a small corner. Jason waits there every day for Amanda, and they had either lunch or dinner together. And with time, Amanda stopped feeling bad about what had happened, gradually accepting her true feelings for Jason, and Jason proposed to her and asked her if she was going to get married to him. To which Amanda said yes, and they got married in the most simple way ever. Mrs. Kalu didn't understand why she wanted the wedding simple, but she had to obey and respect Amanda's decision. Amanda wanted a unique and simple wedding, and that was what she got. Amanda got married to the love of her life, Jason. They lived happily. They lived their life, always remembering how they had to fight to get to this point. Jason was excited and grateful for the gift of Amanda, and Amanda had brought him joy in numerous ways. Amanda wasn't just his wife. Amanda was the mother to his unborn baby. Amanda was the pillar of the home. Amanda was everything he had ever prayed and asked in a woman. And while Mrs. Kalu watched the love and bond between Amanda and Jason, she was glad in her heart that she finally accepted Amanda. Amanda was the best daughter-in-law she could ever ask for. Amanda didn't just take care of her son. Amanda also took care of her and her husband. Who would have thought that Amanda was going to be like this? Amanda wasn't even interested in the family wealth, as she had made a name for herself in the society, so she didn't need their name to stand tall. Amanda had become the lady she had always dreamt of becoming. Thank you very much for listening to the story of the day. We still remain your favorite girl, Zika. Please and please, I would like you to share what you've learned from this story. This story just has a part 1 and a part 2. Share what you've learned after watching the part 1 and the part 2. Till we meet again in our next. Bye for now.